continue from last time, picking up on the whole thing of father's financial provision.
Okay.
You really can just cemented it from 19 years of age onwards, sister. Hear and obey.
Good.
And that triggers in me the difference between provision and stewardship, which I think we
Okay.
use these words almost interchangeably as Christians, but what I get in my simple understanding is provision, because He's Jehovah Jireh. He's the provider.
Yes.
So provision is what God gives us.
Yes.
Stewardship is what we do with what God has given us.
Yes, good.
He provided a garden. He created a garden. He put man into steward to take care of the
Very
garden.
good.
He didn't have to create the garden.
Very good.
And I think a lot of people are taking on responsibility of providing, being the provider of the family, rather than the stewarding what God has provided. And that might be you go and work, but if it's spirit-led, and I remember when I stepped out in 2006,
Yes.
you've been in itinerant ministry for 35 years, I'm stepping into my 17th year, and I remember God says, I want you to minister when it comes to where I go and minister and how that looked. He said, go wherever I tell you to go, regardless of size, location, or finance.
Good. Excellent.
If I tell you
Excellent.
go. If I say don't go, don't go.
Good.
And I realize that, like you, I've never strategized, okay, God's told me to go here, including we've done mission stuff, Cambodia and Africa and India. And often it's, okay, we feel to go, how do we get the money for that? You haven't done that, I haven't done that. Not knocking those that do that and that's what they feel, but we're just sharing our story here. It's like I've focused on God's told me to do this, focus then on what He's told me to do, knowing that if He's told me to do it, He'll provide. I'll just look after and steward what He. But I haven't strategized to get the money. I've just got on with what He's told me to do.
That's it.
So again, I want to throw back to you, because wherever you want to go with this, but including the personal as an itinerant, the provision for the ministry versus provision for the personal.
Yep.
The one person that's God's made in covenant with. So,
Well,
I haven't asked the question,
it's
but
a huge subject, but I think that we come back to what we said last time.
Yep.
It's the nature of covenant.
Yep.
My calling is to obey what Father asked me to do.
Yep.
That's my end of the covenant.
Yep. Yep.
His is to provide for me
Yeah.
anything and everything I need to do that.
Yeah.
I would say to every minister, itinerant or otherwise,
Okay.
I would say to every Christian,
Yep. Yep.
whether you're a marketplace or a business person or a janitor in a building, it doesn't matter. Whatever your calling is, the essence of living a fear-free life,
Right.
an anxiety-free life with finances, is making covenant with your Father.
Great.
Whatever you ask me to do, I will do.
Yes.
Your job, Father, is providing for me so that I can do it. If you see man as your provider, then you'll always fall back into who can pay for what needs to be done.
Wow.
If you see Father only as your provider,
Yeah.
He can use anything He wants or anybody He wants.
Yeah.
That's His job. I don't want to get into it. My job is to do what He told me to do.
Yeah.
His job is to provide for it.
Great.
And I think that this is more important
Yeah.
than many of the subjects we have addressed. I'll rephrase that. Every subject has been important that we've addressed. But for itinerants,
Yeah.
this is critical, because I've seen too many who are wonderful, power-filled, gracious men and women of God struggle financially. It's not an indication of the value of their ministry. It's not an indication of their integrity as a person. We're talking about incredibly wonderful people. We're talking about amazing people. But what I am saying is, we have got to get a conviction, and I'm not talking about a persuasion, a deep conviction that God alone is my provider.
Very good.
That
Very good.
only
Very
God
good.
is my provider, regardless of what he or who he uses.
Yeah.
My friends, I would go as far as to say this.
Yeah.
Don't be an itinerant unless you get that conviction.
Wow.
Because,
Wow.
and I would fast and pray for 6 months to get that conviction before I'd move out as an itinerant. Why? Because I've seen more itinerants stumbled over finance than any other singular issue.
Wow. Wow.
You cannot live free to obey, free to do whatever he asks you to do, unless you have this deep conviction in your heart. I don't ever have to worry about money.
Yeah.
That's my Father's job, not mine.
Yeah.
And see that clearly. He can use a local church, he can use a business person, he can use something you've never heard of in your entire life.
A fish with 2 coins in its mouth.
Exactly. Anything. And I've had some weird and wonderful stories about that in my book.
Yeah.
You did what? A lot of those stories are in that book.
Yeah.
But if you can't trust him for the bizarre, you're not really trusting him for the predictable.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
I'll give you one little story, because I am storyteller. But Margaret and I were on the coast of Italy once, and Margaret, in the fishing village. And Margaret said, we really need some bright yellow ribbon, or green ribbon, I think it was, for the suitcases, because, we need to spot them more quickly. And I said, hun, look around you. Nobody here will sell bright ribbon. Besides which, we can't communicate because of the language. And she says, no, I really feel the need to get some. So we went into a shop, she says, and explained she wanted bright ribbon. Of course, I'd never heard of it, didn't have any, and we went to the next shop. We went to 3 shops, and I remember having one of those male exasperation moments in a shop, and I said, Father, I didn't come to the Cinque Terres on the coast of Italy to shop for green ribbon. And I said, Father, you created the earth in 6 days. How about some bright ribbon? Now you say, well, that's not very reverent. Well, that's how I spoke. And we walked out of the door of that shop, the same door we just walked in, onto the same footpath we had just walked in from. And there, all over the footpath, was bright green plastic ribbon. And I just scooped down, picked it up on a handful, and we went back to the hotel. Now you say, I could tell you dozens of stories like that, because my Father is my provider. It is such a deep-rooted conviction, whether it's green ribbon on a footpath or whether it's signing up for Avonwood property, with our mortgage going from $1,150 a month to $3,350 overnight and not having it in the bank. It's a lifestyle. If Father asks you to do something, then he will always empower you to do it. But it has to be not a persuasion, not an adopted principle that you got from somebody else. You have got to get into God enough so it forges a conviction. The light bulb's got to go on. My Father cannot fail in his provision if he's asked me to do something. The next thing I say, I know this one might go a little bit...
Do we come back for this one?
Okay. Whatever you do, get the next edition, okay? The next little clip it, because I got to say something to you which is I think, going to be a game changer for many of you.
We'll be right back.